because within this chicken, there are types of diseases, the main of which is salmonella, a disease that is fatal if eaten by humans. Oh, but it didn't matter. You know, I love that chicken so. We had this thing at Chick-fil-A where every single employee would greet the customer upon arrival and upon leaving, my pleasure, my pleasure. And it's not as if I didn't really want to say that. It's just that it was hard to say anything with 16 chicken nuggets stuffed in my mouth. As I bit down on those nuggets, I could taste that they had been fried to perfection. Do you know some people who just hate everything? Just hate everything. It's too hot. It's too cold. Why do you look like that? Or why you don't look like that? It's too close in here. Why this Benson so big? Why these seats beige? Why the carpet's beige? Who are you? Just don't like nothing. And what's so funny is that they bring out the negative part of every single situation, but they say that this is just the truth. I'm just telling the truth. I tell it like it is. I'm just keeping it real. So interestingly, they think they're telling the truth. Well, let's talk about truth to Mr. Cynic. That haircut you got on last summer makes you look like a female. Which is unfortunate because you've got these thick leg things from your waist down, which kind of looks like a female too. So then the only thing you're missing is skinny jeans and a female social club jersey. And you would look like my sister. Well, that's the truth, isn't it? That's the truth. All right, well, to Mrs. Cynic, you will never get that dream guy. No, you will never get that dream guy. Mainly because of your teenage acne. It's left holes in your face, as if someone took a bag of nickels to it. Oh, that's the truth. You'll never get them. Oh, but that's the truth. Remember the biblical principle. Everything that is lawful is not expedient, which is to say, just because, Mr. and Mrs. Cynic, just because you can say it, it doesn't mean you should say it. Remember this, the case is, pessimistic cynicism is still a sin. Listen as Peter continues, and then he ends. But they will have to give an account to him who is ready to judge the living and the dead. For this is the reason the gospel was preached even to those who are now dead, so that they might be judged according to human standards in regard to the body, but live according to God in regard to the spirit. Peter the apostle, when he writes to these churches, he is writing to them saying that you are suffering. But when he writes to them, he says that when you suffer, when you encounter a trial, when you encounter a tribulation, it is this thing that will purge you from sin. He says when someone suffers in the body, they can be done with sin, done with the world, because it is the suffering that purges and that cleanses them from this sin disease. And there is a disease called sin. Sexual temptation is that sin. Spiritual complacency is that sin. Pessimistic cynicism, it is that sin. But the truth of the matter is that we can be freed from sin because what Peter said to them, the Holy Spirit uses Peter to say the exact same thing to us to this day, that it is the sufferings that God blesses us with that will actually lead us to being purified from the sin that kills us like a cancer in our spiritual bodies, going from one part of our body to the next, spreading without any type of holding backs. And so when it does, it kills us. He said, you can be free from it. Whenever I stood there and I filleted that chicken with my thumb, opening up those tendons, and I smelled the seasonings, and I became hungry, it was not because of what was in my hand, but it was rather because of what the end product was after the grease. I hungered for that. In the same way, Jesus Christ, in the same way, God in heaven, whenever he sees us, he has our souls in his hand, and he takes his thumb and he fillets our souls down the middle. And what he is hungering for is not necessarily what is in his hand, but he hungers for the end product after the grease. It is the grease that purifies us. It is the grease that will rid us of this sin disease. So remember, when you suffered that once, when you struggle, it's the grease. When you had to end that long-term relationship, it was the grease. When that social club rejected you, it was the grease. When that friendship ended and it hurt so much, it was the grease. That depression you go through, it's grease. That sin struggle that you're trying to get out of, but it just keeps pulling you down, it's the grease. And the truth of the matter is that it is that grease that is cleansing us. It's that grease that is freeing us from this sin. So let us invite the grease. Let us be brave enough to tell God, if you want to pour the grease on top of me, do so that I will be what you want me to be and be cleansed from this salmonella of selfishness, this salmonella of arrogance, this salmonella of lust, of cynicism, of complacency. Cleanse me of such disease, God, so that I can be what you want me to be. I want to thank you for listening to me. And I love you all so much. If you'd like some chicken today, you can check up under your seat. But before you do that, I pray that the poor circumstances in life will make us rich. That the bad situations in this life will make us good. And that every single bad that happens that brings us into dark can really shed onto us light. So we too may be fried to perfection. You are dismissed.